What's up, UTU Trust Guardians, and welcome to another episode of the UTU Trust Guardian interview series. Here's where we chat with team members, investors, partners, and supporters of UTU to learn more about their backgrounds, why they believe in UTU, and how they're helping to increase trust across the entire internet. Today, we are speaking to an UTU partner. We are here with Tudor Stomff, CEO of HYVE, whom we partnered with back in February. What's up, Tudor?
Okay.
A little bit of background on Hive. It's a community-governed ecosystem that solves the current problems in the global freelance and workforce market. They're doing big things to change this very large industry. We're going to have Tudor tell us a little bit about his background, what Hive is and why it's awesome, and how Hive and UTU will work together, and much more. So Tudor, welcome. How are things going?
Thank you, Mike. It's actually pretty good to be here. Okay, so I'm just going to be quick and to the point. Basically, Hive does two things, but it does them very well. The first one is it allows anyone to collaborate, whether that's humans or robots. We just give them the necessary tools to actually work with one another. And the second thing is we actually provide infrastructure for any type of service platforms or marketplaces that want to build on top of the Hive ecosystem. So that's pretty much what we do. As for me, so I've actually been in blockchain since around 2013. But back then, I was essentially just an investor like most people back then, because there wasn't really that much to do. And in 2016, I basically joined the industry full time when I opened Bounty Hive, which was both a marketing agency and eventually a micro-tasking platform where ICOs, organized basically bounties. So we were basically the first people to automate this process. And in the end, we had, at its height, we had over 250,000 daily active users. And I think we worked with around 200 projects from the space. And yeah, that's also where the idea of Hive came from, because we got to a point where we actually had too many users and too few tasks, even though we were posting projects week by week. And so we realized that people actually need something that's much more generalistic than just bounties. And so that's how we came up with the idea of Hive.
Oh, interesting. So Hive kind of spawned out of this platform that you built, that those bounties just focused on like the crypto space.
Correct.
And now
Yeah.
you spread it out and grew into more general tasks and general projects.
Correct. Like you can have competitions, offers like on Fiverr, direct tasks, machine learning tasks, whatever you want to do. Even delivering food or even Uber could be, split down at its core to task, basically. Just pick someone up and deliver him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of different, like you're talking about, different tasks that you can do on this space. Like, do you see any specific type of task or any specific industry within the Hive platform that's getting more traction right now?
I mean, that's a tough one, but I would say probably that's not going to happen. If I were to choose a specific category, it would probably be the protocol verified tasks. So we have this cool thing, it's called Hive Protocol. This one does two things as well. The first one is it allows robots to work with one another. So let's say you have a drone delivery. It's going to allow the two drones to talk with one another so they can deliver a package over a larger distance, right? Yeah. And the second thing it does is, as long as something can be objectifiably measured, then it becomes a self-verifiable task by design. So for example, downloading an app or doing a specific action within a platform or anything that could be measured, like taking a picture or anything like that. It
Right.
just gets automatically verified. So you don't need someone to actually check the work because of that. So I'd say that's probably a category that's going to stand out a bit, more specifically, simply because it doesn't exist at the moment. And so probably a lot of people will start to make use of it once it's live. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in a sense, it sounds very much a lot like the just a general smart contract, right? Where
Basically,
right,
yeah,
if this happens, then this happens, right?
correct.
But you're telling me that okay, this is starting to blow my mind here. About let's just kind of talk a little bit more about this drone drone use case. You're telling me that somehow, and you mentioned robots on your platform, humans versus robots, which I definitely want to dig into because that's I didn't know that about that part of your platform, and it sounds crazy and amazing. So yeah, tell us a little more about that. Like you talk about robots connecting with each other, drones connecting with each other. Yeah, dig in a little bit more there.
Sure, sure. Okay, so this is actually done through what we call hives. So hives are self-governed organizations. The two of us can make a hive, and let's say I'm a developer and you're a designer, and so we just go and put up an offer to build a website from beginning to end. And so when it's finished, we just split the money with one another. Now, AI agents or robots can do the same thing. They can create their own hive. So you can have a hive with, I don't know, 20 drones. And whenever a task shows up, which is a delivery of 100 kilometers or something, they can have some variables that the owners set up beforehand, such as you need to generate a profit of $1 per kilometer or whatever. And so when it goes over that threshold, they can just accept the task automatically and just basically create a chain where they just deliver the package from one drone to the other until it gets to the destination.
Okay. Has this have these tasks been executed already on
No, because the
okay,
platform isn't live, but you can totally do it by the end of the year. Yeah.
okay. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, so digging a little bit there in terms of you talking about doing this by the end of the year and your roadmap. Yeah,
Sure.
what's on the roadmap short term versus obviously this whole drone robot thing is happening in a few months, but yeah, what's your roadmap look like?
Okay, so in the next quarter, so in Q3, we're actually launching the mainnet completely. It's going to have all of the features in the white paper with one single exception, which is it's not going to have the HR agents. So that's the people who recommend other people to jobs.
Okay. Well,
Other
can
than
you
that,
tell us before jumping in, you're saying everything in the white paper? Yeah. What are some of those things that you mentioned in the white
I
paper?
mean, sure. Okay, so it's going to have escrow. It's going to allow people to sign agreements that are verified on the blockchain. You're going to have all the different types of tasks like offers, jobs, competitions, normal tasks like do this, do that. There's actually lots of differentiators. It can be an open task, it can be a closed task whereby the owner decides if he accepts someone. It can be a task with one single reward or with several rewards. It can be a job that's split on objectives or over a monthly basis or however you want to do it, basically. So it's going to do, it's going to allow people to have any sort of collaboration with one another. It's also going to allow robots to get onboarded. So, for example, yeah, like the simplest feature would be they can solve CAPTCHA, right? Like they can check if CAPTCHA was solved correctly, or they can help by just making different circles around objects in a picture so that they can then be recognized by other people. Furthermore, AI agents can actually be taught through Hive. So, for example, I can have 3 iterations of the same AI agent, and I change some variables in each iteration, but I allow the free agents to actually post tasks for people to solve them. And so the agents decide on some tasks for people to solve so that they can learn from those tasks. And in the end, you can then see which one of the free agents was most successful and decide which algorithm is best and everything else. So you can basically train your AI by having him be trained by people on the platform. And he being the agent, creates the actual tasks for people to solve. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, it's kind of the automated postings of tasks that it's
Correct.
learned to be necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I didn't think. I mean, look, I knew you were building some cool stuff. I didn't think we were going like, years and years and decades into the future and bringing robots.
Right. And this is going to be a cool thing for UTU as well, because there will be AI agents who are not necessarily trustworthy.
Yeah. So let's thank you
Like,
for the segue. Thank you for setting that up. So let's roll into how UTU and Hive will work together. You alluded to a little bit of that as well. So yeah, dig into a little bit how we're going to work together.
okay, sure. So for normal people, it's a bit easier, right? Because whenever someone does something good or something bad, they can just make use of the actual trust layer that UTU provides to actually see how trustworthy someone is, to decide whether you want to work with them, whether you want to accept the job from them, and stuff like that. But this goes also for machines and AIs, because just as we have front-running bots on Uniswap, there will be agents developed by, malicious actors, or however you want to call them, whose only purpose is just to generate a profit without necessarily that being equitable for both parties. Yep. And so whenever that happens, robots could even give a trust to one another, for example, like a review, and humans can also give robots reviews. And so in the end, by making a differentiation between the AI agents who are not trustworthy, they will essentially be excluded from the system in the long term.
Yeah. So again, when we first talked partnership, all this stuff, we didn't even imagine that you could do this stuff. At least we didn't talk about that all this stuff could happen on Hive. And it's super cool. So I want to dig into a couple of things there where one, I think, like you said, when we integrate our trust infrastructure, our trust layer onto Hive, now it'll be able to, our AI will be able to kind of identify patterns within whether or not humans or these AI agents on how trustworthy they are and whether they're executing tasks. And even then, at some point, maybe they're, like you said, these agents are creating the tasks that need to be executed, and if those are even trustworthy tasks, right? Or they're just doing that for profit. So man, this is awesome. But
this is really cool because it's, as you said, like we are basically providing generalistic infrastructure, and so for that reason, even though AI agents can function on top of Hive, we will not be building our own AI agent because that would destroy the generalistic side of things, and so that's why it's helpful to have something like UTU, which comes on top and just takes care of trying to find the malicious actors, basically.
That's right. Another thing we spoke about in terms of the partnership was, you mentioned that Hive was other developers can use Hive, the protocol, the platform, to build their own platforms, their own freelance, their work platforms. So, UTU will be deployed as kind of a module that they can plug into there. And they'll have to, I don't know if AI agents will be on their platform, but they'll be able to look at, to assess the trustworthiness of those bots as well. But just in terms of maybe we'll bring it back to humans a little bit more now, since that's the beginning. What have you seen are the, obviously there's a lot of trust that needs to be present for humans to work together. What are some of the things that you've seen where that make these good connections between humans on whether they're looking for people to work together? And is it a matter of just being able to, what are the layers that you've seen that say, okay, typically these two people who work together have trust on certain levels? Payments, is it execution or similar skills? Have you kind of seen patterns on whether it's coming from the past platform or on Hive right now about what really is important for trust between people?
Sure. So there are a couple of I would say elemental things that are required, basically, and so we've made those a necessity, such as the escrow. or the ability to sign an agreement on the blockchain, or simply being able to raise up a dispute within a decentralized court through Claros, right? So those are the elemental things. But when you go beyond this, you start having a vast array of very subjective things,
Right.
such as, do I like working with this person? Is he someone I enjoy working with?
Yeah.
Or am I satisfied with the quality that this individual provides for the amount of money that he requests?
Yeah.
You know, and so for those type of things, you cannot just create a rule that solves them all. That's why you need the trust layer. Like that's where the necessity of it comes in, because these are subjective things. And so for a very long time, at least a couple dozen years, an AI will be, you know, kind of unable to just decide on those subjective matters. And you need some people to say, I like it or I don't like it, you know?
Yeah.
But on that note, that like to come back a bit on what you were saying before, so that's totally true. Other people can build their own platforms on top of Hive, and we actually have an announcement coming up regarding that, I guess next week actually.
Nice.
And the idea is that all the applications that get implemented into the Hive ecosystem, such as UTU or Claros, will be directly available to all of the platforms that decide to build with our infrastructure. So they can just plug you in automatically, basically.
Right.
And since Hive is going to be cross-chain, so we're going to be chain agnostic, basically, as long as UTU, for example, makes a solution for Binance Smart Chain as well, then the projects that come and build on top can decide whether they want to use UTU on Ether or UTU on BSC. You know?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, we definitely have partnered with other layer one chains to be able to deploy our trust infrastructure there. So that'll fit really nicely into you know our thesis too. Super cool way. I mean, again, you know, I wasn't aware that you know you are building a lot of these pieces, and you know, ever since we talked back in February, and it sounds amazing. And yeah, it would be, I think this is a great partnership because, you know, I think we're very aligned in the way we're thinking, and just the recognition of how important trust is. And like you said, there are so many subjective factors that feed into trust that, you know, sometimes you just can't really measure them as well as you'd like to. But you know, I think that's one of our, you know, our mission is to be able to, you know, to be able to use those as factors to be able to increase trust. And I think with people working together, that is just one of the perfect use cases for that, where that insight into those subjective things are necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like this partnership for a very simple reason, which is that both companies have chosen a very specific thing to do and they focused on it. And that's it, you know, because like at the end of the day, I strongly believe that, you know, every human has the same cognitive capacity in the end, right? If you get raised in the same circumstances and stuff, but your attention span and your time, most importantly, is very limited. So if you just, you know, focus on dozens of things, you're probably not going to make either one of them be cool. Whereas if you just focus on one thing alone, then that's probably going to succeed. Yeah.
And I think just you know, along those lines, I think the visions of both of our platforms are massive, right? Like, it's you know, the workforce and freelance market is a huge thing, that, and you know, the trends are moving towards people being more autonomous. People will not necessarily dedicating their careers to one or two companies, you know, lifetime of a career. So this is only going to be make platforms like Hive more important in the way people work. So super cool. All right, Tudor, let's move on to the quick fire questions. So I'll ask you 3 questions in succession to learn more about you. All right, the first one is, tell us something unique and interesting about you that not many people may know.
before I was a startup entrepreneur, I was actually a professional sportsman.
Really?
Yeah, I
What'd you play?
used to do water polo. I was the goalkeeper, and I was actually pretty good at it.
That is, you know, I can barely tread water for like a minute. I have no idea how water polo players will like just like stand there, move around, and like it's like for hours and hours on end. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I
Very
mean
curious.
it's fun, but I haven't done it in a couple years. I just code nowadays, to be
That's
honest with
cool.
you.
Cool. All right, number two, if you can chat with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Nah, I totally know that one. It's Diogenes the Cynic. He was someone that lived a very long time ago, and he's a really cool dude. Like, I think having a conversation with him would be so much fun. Like, just imagine that he was a contemporary with Alexander the Great, right? And so Alexander the Great came to Diogenes, who used to live on the streets because he had a very odd view of the world, and he was basically living like a beggar, right? And so Alexander the Great came to him and he said, Diogenes, I can offer you anything in the world, power, money, whatever you want. Just tell me what you want from me. And Diogenes just looked Alexander in the eye and say, could you please get out of the light? And I just love Diogenes for that. He actually did a lot of stupid stuff, like when the Senate decided that a human can be described as a featherless biped, he actually plucked a chicken and he went with the chicken in the Senate and he said, "Behold, a man." So yeah, I think he would be a pretty fun guy to have a talk with.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's I just love like people who just think differently and
Yeah,
unexpectedly, right? Like, if someone who comes up to you, super powerful person, a lot of people will just be like, oh yeah, ask for riches, ask for that.
right.
So yeah, that sounds like a really interesting guy. All right, last question. What is something that you believe, but few others agree with you on? This is always the toughest question. I've done interviews for a long time, and this is always the stumper.
I believe that within our lifetimes, we will see a person become, at the very least, a trillionaire. And the industry he's going to become a trillionaire in is 100% going to be the space industry. And I am willing to bet that it's not going to be either Musk or Bezos, and it's not going to be someone that builds rockets. It's most likely someone who's going to build infrastructure, such as infrastructure for traveling the distance between planets, or perhaps space factories, stuff like that, or maybe even putting cloud on the moon. Because if you do, like, first of all, because of the lower gravity, the mechanisms inside would break down much slower. You wouldn't need cooling because you have that. They couldn't catch on fire because you don't have oxygen. Like, there's lots of crazy stuff you can do in space, and I think we haven't even started to explore an infinitesimal amount of it. Yeah.
Totally. And there's a couple of things there where a lot of people will say, the next Elon Musk, the next Jeff Bezos, the next Mark Zuckerberg could be next door to you, right? We don't know who this person's going to be. The talent
Right.
from anywhere, and where did Vitalik come from, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and I completely agree with you. I think like you say, it's space is just this like frontier that we're only starting to scratch the surface on, and like, look, we don't even we're just always like thinking the solar system revolves obviously around the sun, but like the Earth is like the center of the solar system, and figuratively, because this is where we live and everything.
Yeah.
But we just have no idea what's out there and what can be explored and what we can do there. So Yeah, I think
yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do, and that's for Vitalik. Actually, I mean, Vitalik's dad is one of the nicest people on Twitter, so I kind of understand why he was able to build Ethereum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like
if
I had to answer that second question again after Diogenes, it's definitely Vitalik's dad who I'd like to meet.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, get them together for some dinner and some drinks.
Right.
Yeah. So awesome, Tudor. That was a lot of fun. I did not think that we were going to have such a futuristic conversation, but it's obviously, the future is obviously bright for Hive. And I think you have a great outlook in just terms of what overall, like humans and computing, the potential of everything working together, and just the frontiers that we're able to explore. So super appreciative of your time. That was a really fun conversation. Tell us where the UTU community can learn more about Hive.
I mean, sure. You mean like Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, anything or yeah.
I mean, you can just find us on the website like hive.works, or on Twitter at join_Hive, or simply on Telegram, which is HYVEworks.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Tudor. Trust Guardians, we hope you enjoyed that very futuristic chat with Tudor. Please hit the like button if you did, and there'll be many more interviews to come with partners, investors, and members of the UTU community. So make sure you hit those subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss those interviews.
Okay,
right,
guys.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much, Tudor.
Thank you for inviting me. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
You too.